So I don't know how good this is gonna look because I can barely see my screen and I'm pointed at the shadow zone. So I wanted to make a note about what kind of rocks to use and where. I just have this one set there to show that I have like one rule, and that is, I know those are just set in there to kind of get an idea how it looks, so they're mixed, but realistically you want to keep, rounded rocks kind of in the line of water, and anything that's craggy or has like a specific sheeting profile, like those two limestone rocks, make more sense along the edge. Now if I walk a quarter mile away from here, of course it's the wind, if I walk about a quarter mile away there's Limestone Creek, and I could show an example of cliffs and showing where kind of more craggy and sheeting rocks make up most of the body of water. The other thing I notice what people do is they'll just like line the banks of stones right on the ground itself. So 100% of your rock or mineral is completely above ground, and it's just not natural, it looks completely artificial. So my kind of rule of thumb with this is to not have them more than like an eighth or a tenth of the total height, either above or below. And there's two rocks here that I've already, now I don't have a shadow so you can see these a little better, but notice how this one is recessed and the other one comes up like a couple of inches. Also how there's an edge of terrain directly behind it, and then it beaches. So this will be a nice little wide pool because this is a slow area. These I'm gonna leave for now, whereas these will all be taken out while I lay cement and then placed while it's wet. He's coming to inspect, and so with this one I packed clay around it, same with this, and that'll probably be, I'm considering doing cement around the back of it and having stones stuck into it. Just like in certain spots on the turn, I'll probably bring cement onto the flat ground and, do like a mosaic of stones. And I know then it becomes like, okay, it's obviously artificial, but the idea is to go as natural as possible, like 75%, and then the rest of it just looks nice and neat. Because I can try and make the cement, like cement obviously does have limestone in it, but it's not quite that same color. And I am pretty sure that's limestone. My geology professor would flunk me if because that's the area we live in. Like I said, the creek is actually called Limestone Creek, and actually these came out of it. But again, to be as realistic as possible when it's artificial, I believe, edging it with stones like that, that again have sheeting profiles, and then using something rounder like what he's sitting on, are more realistic. What else I want to do is some of these flatter stones, if I can get larger ones to come out and create an edge where the water has eroded underneath it. And again, a lot of these erosion profiles, like right here, are just the reality of what would occur, in a rainstorm when the water level is that much higher. But yeah, but the point is you want kind of sporadic placement, and you at least want the stones, whether you follow a rule or not, to be embedded. Now, if I had matching ones like that, and I went all along, I had enough to kind of line the sides, that would still look great. But if you want it to actually be realistic, you have to have some geological rules And that's about it. And I mean, find whichever side of the stone has more erosion on it, whether it's from rain being acidic or what have you. And rocks will still erode depending on the stone. Like, they can still sheet. It's not like every type of rock just gets rounded. But that's just a rule to follow being artificial. Again, I want to take the cement and maybe if I line this, is if I can kind of match the same kind of little craters and stuff, I'm going to do that. And that creek nearby has the most amazing features and parts of it. Like, you'll be walking and the entire creek bed is actually just giant limestone with craters and waterfalls. It's pretty amazing. So I'm still not quite done carving it. I think there's going to be kind of a pool right there. And I think right here is I kind of want this to be a main area, so I'm going to bring cement out probably like a foot or two with stones right here. Because the only thing about the, you can see deer hoof prints, is it's always raining, and this ground is always soft. So in some points I want to protect them from erosion, but and also obviously overgrowth, so I don't want my stones to completely disappear. And this will be like 5,000 gallons per hour, maybe 10,000 if I can afford it, but the beauty of it is even having a lesser trickle is the way that you cut this is still believable for, like I said, a rainstorm. And luckily I live in an area where I can see a million examples of the geology in this area, so I'm trying to stay true to that. Luckily I have an almost infinite source of rocks. But yeah, that's just something to know. I'm gonna get at one more view from back here because I think this is starting to look really nice in this section. Kind of realistic, you know. And you don't want everything to be a consistent width, obviously, either, just because of erosion. But like right here, this bank isn't that wide. Then you have a wide spot, then another wide spot with a pool. But you don't want it to look like a really narrow trench either, even if there's not water flowing. Like, yeah, this would be amazing if water came almost to the brim, but it's just not realistic. I think between 5,000 and 10,000 and the slow spots, it'll definitely have enough of a pool to it to where it's significant. But it's not, I wanted it to be kind of at least like mini golf or theme park level, not just like a chintzy little stream. And ideally I would be running this off of solar power, which I haven't worked the math on. Like, ideally you'd run a battery system. I've seen people run certain pumps, like 5,000 with direct sunlight, and I don't remember how many panels he had. They were probably like, he probably had like 40 watts, like a handful of 40 watts, but, because I think the wattage on a 5,000 is like 400 watts or something. But yeah, that's just another thing to make note of is how you make these sides. Because like I said, as soon as you start putting them right up level with the ground, it just, I don't know, to each their own, but it just, as soon as I see that, I kind of cringe, especially if you're using a pond liner and you see the black. Like, that's like our one waterfall behind me, and that's why I'm doing it my way, is you know, cement, rocks, and, well, waterproofing mix with that cement. And luckily with this clay is you can mold almost like any form you want. It's so fun and easy to work with. But anyway, that's it for now.